thought it might be fitting to wear my apron in this video because we're going to be talking about simplifying your dinners. And I'm going to share some things that I have done that's making dinner time much easier. I would say out of all the times in my day, the time that consistently throughout motherhood up until probably this last year has been the most difficult for me has been that time around dinner. When you're like trying to get dinner ready and all of a sudden it's like the baby needs to nurse, there's a blowout, there's fighting and screaming and crying and the house is being destroyed and everybody wants to help, which is super sweet, but things just like fall apart. And so this has been an area I've really tried quite a few things to try to figure out how can I make dinner time not so crazy and chaotic and hard. And so this is what it's boiled down to. So these things, along with my kids getting older, have been really, really helpful. So to start, I like to have a consistent grocery shopping day. And so Monday morning, right after my Bible and whatever it is I'm working on, if I'm getting up extra early to work on something else, my next thing that I do is I plan out my meals for the week and then I write out my grocery list. Or else I will put in a Walmart grocery pickup, depending on if I'm going to just pick up my groceries or go and shop for them myself. So as I'm meal planning, I'm able to see exactly what ingredients I'll need to get in order to make the meals I'm planning to make. So I'm not having to run to and from the store a whole bunch of times because I forgot something, or I'm halfway through making a soup and realize I don't have part of the ingredients that I need. So this is really helpful for that reason. And so then I go and get the groceries Monday, and then as soon as I bring them home, a little thing that I have done that's really helpful is I will just take everything out of the main part of the fridge really quickly. I will throw away any leftovers that are too old, like they've been in there for the entire week and they're getting nasty, and I will wipe it down. And this is not a detailed job. This takes me maybe like 5 extra minutes before I put the new groceries in the fridge. And it's really nice because then you know for the rest of the week, everything in there is up for grabs and it's probably not going to be gross. You don't have stuff growing mold in the back of your fridge like when I was first married. I had a really bad habit of letting happen. And so you're just keeping everything in there fresh. So that's the next thing that I do. Then as I have mentioned multiple times now, I prep dinners during my kids' nap time now almost every single day. And this is the biggest tip I could give because it eliminates so much of the difficulty right before dinner when you're trying to make dinner and it's such a long process and there's all these dishes and all the kids want to help, which is really sweet, but sometimes it does make things a lot more difficult. And so now typically I will prep dinner for about 15 minutes and then it will take me, 15 to 20 minutes probably to finish it right before we're actually going to eat dinner, or just pop it into the oven and I pull it out an hour later and it's ready. And so that's so helpful. I don't try a whole lot of new recipes nowadays. Occasionally I might pick out like one new recipe to try a week, but I used to pick out 3, 4, 5 new recipes to try every week. And not only did it really complicate the groceries I was gonna get because I was getting all these things I wasn't familiar with, I didn't have on hand, but also a lot of times I try new recipes and I'm like, that wasn't that good. Like I just really like the simple, traditional, like whole food type meals. My husband does not care. Like he just likes whatever I make him. He's so sweet. And my kids are not picky. And so we eat just a lot of whole foods now and a lot of meals that are very uncomplicated. We usually have a meat, a side, and a vegetable. And so it just keeps things really simple and it really cuts down on the new recipes. And that's so nice because the majority of the cooking now that I do at dinner time, I'm cooking with ingredients and with recipes I'm familiar enough with that I don't have to measure, that I just kind of add things. So I use a lot less dishes and then it just takes so much less time because you're not constantly having to refer back to your recipe and remeasure something and discover you don't have an item that you needed for the recipe and just all those type of things. So that's really nice. So I really enjoy having 1 to 2 really good salad dressing recipes that are simple. So I'll have those up on the screen for you to just screenshot. And having a couple really simple marinades that are favorites that you can just marinate your meat into. And between just having a couple good dressing recipes and a couple good marinades, and you throw in a couple of sides, you have dinners for an entire week that don't take you very much time at all. So I really encourage you, if you have certain kind of go-to recipes, to memorize them, get really familiar with them where you don't have to look at the recipe book anymore in order to make these things. The next thing that's really helpful is to batch your meals. And so I do this a lot when I'm pregnant, towards the end of pregnancy, or when I would just get pregnant and I know I'm not going to feel good and not want to be cooking very much. And that's just that you make like a double of whatever it is that you're cooking, and you freeze half of it or you keep half of it for the next day. And that's so nice. So I do that a lot with dinners now. I will make a lot of extra dinner, and then that's our lunch for the next day. So it simplifies lunch a lot, and it cuts down a lot on dishes, which is really nice. And it's just great when you have things in your freezer that you can pull out and they're healthy, you know what's in them. But it's super quick and easy, like a microwave meal or whatever from the store would be. So that's so nice. Now, I want to share with you some go-to pretty traditional type recipes that are some of the things that are the majority of the meals that we eat. And I don't use recipes for any of these things that I'm going to list. If there's something that I'm just not familiar enough with to know exactly what would go into this recipe, then I will sometimes look it up. But I usually just kind of read the items that are in it and then add my own amounts, because it's pretty easy to get a sense of like, oh, you know, in stroganoff there'd probably be about this much sour cream. Let's just add a few scoops. Like, you can't really go wrong with sour cream, right? So here are some go-to recipes that make dinner really easy, that are simple, that you can prep ahead of time. Spaghetti, meatloaf, tacos, taco soup, taco salad, chili, roast with vegetables, a chowder, beef stew, some type of vegetable soup, a chef salad, burgers, just cooked up ground beef, steak, meatballs, Santa Fe chicken and rice, honey glazed chicken, coconut chicken and quinoa, fried rice, biscuits and gravy, stroganoff with rice or noodles. So those are some kind of go-to recipes in our house that I cook frequently enough that I have a general sense of what goes into them. I usually will have 3 different things for a meal. And so you compare any of those things that I just listed with rolls, bread, rice, a side of squash, potatoes, corn, biscuits, cornbread. Like, those are just a few of the things. And so right there, you have so many options. And then you do a vegetable, so some type of green. So green beans are super easy. A salad, or we do a ton of baked vegetables. That's just cut up vegetables on a cookie sheet with olive oil or avocado oil and salt and pepper, and you bake it in the oven until it gets slightly crispy. And it's just the very best way to eat vegetables. My kids literally love Brussels sprouts, and I've never heard of kids that enjoy Brussels sprouts, just because we do it that way. They're so much better than boiling them. And so that's a really easy thing. So what I do is I'll just pick out like a meat. Okay, we're gonna do meatloaf, we'll do a salad, we'll do a side typically. And then for salads, my go-to salad is either a cucumber tomato salad with a simple Italian dressing, or I will do spinach, feta, some type of fruit. And now that we're not on such a tight food budget, I'll put nuts on the top. That used to be like a splurge, and we didn't really do nuts. But it's such a good salad. And then all you need is like a lemon vinaigrette or a mustard vinaigrette, and it's so good. So that's our go-to salad. We have a couple times a week at least, and then we'll have those vegetable trays a couple times a week, and that's like our vegetables. It's so nice. So I'm going to have a list on the screen of these ideas, and I'm also going to share with you guys really simple go-to meals that I do that you don't need a recipe in order to make, and so it'll just give you some ideas. Okay, so I'm going to show you really fast how to make this honey chicken. This is how quick it is. Okay, you take your chicken out. It's chicken thighs. Just put them in the pan. You add probably about a 1/4 cup of olive oil, or you could use avocado oil. You add a drizzle of lemon juice by a couple tablespoons. You add some pepper. Okay, I just washed my hands. I'm going to add some of this Italian seasoning with salt. This is just from my garden, so it's just Italian seasoning or just a mixture of green herbs and some salt. And then you add a drizzle of honey. And that is all you do. You put this in the oven, you bake it at about 375 degrees for about half an hour until the chicken looks done. And it's so, so good. So here's that salad dressing that I gave the recipe for. All it is about, I probably did about a half a cup of olive oil, about a tablespoon of mustard, a tablespoon of lemon juice, Italian seasoning, salt, pepper, and then you can add a little garlic, and you can add about a tablespoon or two of honey. So you just kind of do it to taste, and it's all ready. Over here, we just have the spinach. So I like to add nuts. Pecans are my favorite. Back when we had a really tight food budget, though, we definitely did not splurge on nuts. But feta, or you could do like a goat cheese, and then I just add some frozen berries and put this dressing on top, and it is our favorite salad. So in less than 10 minutes, dinner is prepped. Yay! Here's just some rice that we're gonna cook up, and yeah, it's all ready. Just gotta cook it. Okay, so here are all the ingredients for the next meal. All I'm gonna do is throw this meat into my sink to have it thaw over the afternoon. I'm gonna chop up this broccoli. I'm gonna cut these in half. I'm gonna cut this in half, and I'm gonna chop up these apples. I just chopped everything up. It probably took me less than 10 minutes for sure, probably more like 5. I put the sweet potatoes face down, cut in half, in a little bit of olive oil in this pan to cook. I have this squash over here. All I'm gonna do is dump like a cup of water in this, and it will steam cook it in the oven. And I'll put this in about an hour before dinner. And then I have this broccoli. And all I'm gonna do for the broccoli is you can do a little oil, olive oil or avocado oil. I just like to drizzle on. See, I don't even cut this stuff up small. You don't have to. It tastes just as good like this. A sprinkle of salt. This is our favorite way to have broccoli. Pepper. And then for these apples, I'm just going to put, I'll get rid of all the cores, but I'm going to put all the apple slices into a pot with butter on the bottom. And here's dinner all prepped. We have the broccoli, sweet potatoes, squash, apples. I put a little cinnamon on there. And then over here I have the meat. And then over here, there's the mess from dinner prep, which I would say is pretty good. Yay! Here's dinner number 2. The broccoli I just cooked for like 30 minutes. And then you just cook up the apples and onion, or the apples until they get soft, and you cook the squash and the meat. And there's a little barbecue sauce and butter. Okay, here is the stuff that you need for meal number 3. So we have carrots. I'm just gonna scrub and chop up into smaller pieces to boil, and I'll put them in water so I can boil them about an hour before dinner. We have Brussels sprouts. I'm just gonna chop them in half and put them on a cookie sheet. We have zucchini, or 2 zucchinis. I'm gonna chop those up. Typically, I would just do all Brussels sprouts instead of adding zucchinis, but I didn't have enough Brussels sprouts. So I'm doing zucchinis too. I'm gonna peel up these potatoes and do cubed potatoes, and then I'm doing meatloaf. So I have the meat, I'm gonna thaw it, and then I've already prepped, this is about half a cup of oatmeal, or you can use breadcrumbs, salt, pepper, garlic, and then to this I'm going to chop up 1 onion and add it in small little pieces, and then about a cup of milk and some Worcestershire sauce when I add the meat right before I put this in the oven, about an hour before dinner. So that's what you need for this next meal. Super simple.
These don't have any. Look, these don't.
Okay, so here's dinner prepped. I cut up the onion, added it to the meatloaf stuff, These potatoes are all good, except I will add some water so that they won't brown, so that they'll set in the water all afternoon. These carrots I'll add some water to, and then we have this stuff, and then my meat is thawing. Okay, so it's probably about 45 minutes before we're gonna eat dinner, so I just mixed the burger in. I added the Worcestershire and the milk, mixed it all together. And then over here, this is probably about 3/4 a cup of ketchup, 1/4 a cup of honey, a sprinkle of cinnamon, a sprinkle of ginger, and a little bit of dry mustard. So I'm gonna mix that up, put that on the top, then I'm gonna bake this for about 45 minutes at 400 degrees. The last thing that I wanted to talk about that I have found really helpful is I have an essentials pantry, is what I would call it. And this is where I just store things that we consistently use. And so something really nice about not constantly trying new recipes, although maybe in the future when I have more time, that will be something I'll really enjoy doing. So just for right now, it's really not something I feel like I have tons of extra time and I just want to experiment and make tons of new foods all the time. But something really nice about having kind of consistent meals that you're making that are tried and true, that you know your family loves, that are simple, that are easy, that aren't super complicated, is that you can then have a little essential pantry where you keep the essential things you use consistently and know that you almost always have these ingredients. This is something I started about 1.5 years ago, as I built a little pantry down in the basement with just the essentials of the things that I use pretty much every week. These are items that I'm reaching for. And it's so nice because now I rarely am in the middle of making something that's like one of our go-to family recipes and realize I don't have the right ingredients for it because I have that essentials pantry. So I really would encourage that. It's so stress relieving because we used to have people over and I'd be like, we don't have enough food to feed them. Like, it was really hard and it added a lot of stress. Or, we'd have guests over and I'd be halfway through making something and realize like I have no ketchup. This is so bad. Like, how could I run out of ketchup? And so just having that little extra store of the essential things that you need that you pretty much know you're always going to have. I usually have these things is really helpful and makes making those just kind of go-to recipes much, much easier. So I really encourage you to have one of those. It eliminates a ton of stress, or at least it has for me. So those are the things that right now in this season of life with a lot of really small kids has made dinner time so much easier, so much less stressful, and so much more enjoyable, and so much simpler. I hope these things are helpful for you too, that you got some new ideas. If you have anything that you do though, that's not something that I mentioned, please share it. I always want to learn, I want to grow, I want to get better at this. And so I would love to hear your wisdom. So thank you for watching and I will see you in the next phase. Okay, bye-bye.